Well, hello and welcome back to the channel. We love to discuss travel and experiences that are really breathtaking. Life is very short and it's important to experience everything you can, try new things, taste new food, go new places, and have fun with the people you love. Today we're talking about two massive cruise ships getting massive upgrades, the Norwegian Breakaway and the Norwegian Bliss, both two of our favorite cruise ships. So join us as we talk about some of these changes and how they might impact your cruising experience. And as always, please remember to like and subscribe our channel. It helps us to continue to produce this content. Okay, so Ashley and I are back in the real world now, back in Las Vegas. It's been over a month, almost 2 months now, literally. We're 7 days away from 2 months back from the Breakaway out of New York City. If you're curious and you're going on the Breakaway, you better watch our last video as soon as possible. But overall, I would say, I don't know what system to use here. I'll go with 5 ducks. 5 ducks is a perfect rating. So I would say the Breakaway, now that I'm 2 months out, is a solid 3.5 ducks.
That's generous.
Generous? Okay.
I give it a 3.
I'll tell you why I went with 3.5 as we go. And it's mainly to do with history. It's a history-based half duck. But anyways, I think it's hard to deny, like on our first day, as is not uncommon, I think, with us on cruises, we have high expectations. And I think a lot of that's because Ashley's a planner, and so we spend a lot of time in planning, and you think and you imagine, and then you get on the ship and something happens and you're like, But anyways, I would say now in December, as I think about the cruise, I do miss being on the ship. I thought it was, I have a fond memory of the ship. Is that fair?
Yes.
So, and that's a good thing. Now, we had lots of problems on the Breakaway, and chief among them, and now that I've got off the ship and I posted some of the feedback, and you know, when you experience something, you're tempered by your own expectations, and so you're like, maybe it's not that bad, maybe I'm overreacting. Well, anyways, I would say the number one problem that we had was cleanliness, and specifically our stateroom. Our stateroom had boogers and pee on the bed. And that's a major issue. And the thing about when you get on a cruise ship is you're kind of like in complete control of the cruise ship and its crew. As was, I mean, that's in the news right now. This passenger on Royal Caribbean, who unfortunately passed away after he was detained in the ship. That's not something I feel equipped to comment on, but I think it's a good example that once you're on that ship, until you get to somewhere that has soil, you're on that ship. Yep. In some instances, if you leave from a U.S. port because of the Jones Act, you actually cannot get off the ship. We found that on our first cruise ship when we wanted to get off a cruise ship. They said, you can't get off the ship. You have to stay on the ship. We're talking about disembarking early. Anyway, so overall, the ship was very dated.
Yes. And
the ship was only about 10 years old. That's the thing that surprised me. It's built, I think, in 2013 it came out. So the ship being a little bit over 10 years old compared to one of our favorite ships, the Sapphire Princess, which is over 20 years old. The Sapphire Princess was leagues above in terms of cleanliness. Leagues above. And that was an old ship. And even, so I've been on Sapphire Princess twice. And from the time that I was there to the time again, I actually thought the ship was cleaner the second time I was on the ship. And that's a major improvement. But anyways, 3.5 ducks. How about you?
I'd barely give it a 3.
Barely 3. Okay, so 3 ducks and 3.5 ducks. Now, some of the things I think we really enjoyed about the Breakaway, my biggest thing I enjoyed about the Breakaway, now that I think about it, was actually the spa, aside from one problem. But I liked the spa. The reason I liked the spa is because the pools were so small, I could never get into a hot tub.
So crowded.
And so hot and so crowded. So being able to go to the spa was really nice and just be away from the crowds and crowds of people. Second, well, what was your favorite?
Shanghai Noodle House.
Shanghai Noodle House. Quick pause on Shanghai Noodle House. It's in our overall ship tour and food tour. We have a food tour of the Breakaway and an overall ship tour. If you go on today, if you're sailing, well, literally today is Saturday. We take off today, right? Or Sunday. Saturday. So if you're leaving New York today and you're getting on the Breakaway, Cameron, if you're leaving and getting on the Breakaway, go to Shanghai Noodle. Why is that?
After the first, it's no longer included.
It's included right now. Now I think what's going to happen with NCL is they've got a lot of Shanghai noodle type restaurants on their ships where it's right between included and specialty dining. So I think you're going to see what Princess did, which is like a middle class. If you have this package you're gonna get the casual dining, but that's just my prediction. So, you know, back to the Breakaway. So the reason I gave it 3.5 stars is truly the Breakaway was the first. It was the first in its class, and really, it really redefined mid-tier cruising for an entire generation. The Breakaway was the first ship, and I think that makes sense because, you know, the first child, they always expect the first child to handle themselves, you know, and the Breakaway kind of got left out on its own while all the other ships came out, Encore, the Joy, all these other Breakaway. I was gonna get to the Bliss, and all these other Breakaway class ships came out, and they had to spend time, energy, and effort in those ships, and so the Breakaway was just like out there. Now the Breakaway has a lot of premium features that are free, that a lot of the new ships don't. Like it has that ropes course. If that was going on a ship today, I guarantee you'd have to pay to do the ropes course. There's no question about it.
It had a soccer thing.
It had a soccer / what's that?
Sport court.
Sport court. What am I thinking? Pickleball.
Pickleball.
It had
soccer,
a makeshift
basketball.
pickleball court. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, if you know, we don't have to get into all the Breakaway here today. The main takeaway there is, like, even though we had significant problems, we do miss being on the ship. So it's hard for me not to recommend the Breakaway to you. I think it's a good ship, and I think you should go check it out. And there's even more reason for that we found out today. There's some major news coming from NCL. So that's actually what we want to talk about. Ashley and I are out grocery shopping. So before we head into the store, let's talk about some of the major news that's coming to NCL specific to a couple of Breakaway class ships, and specifically the Breakaway. All right, so here's the article. This is from NCL's website, actually. Norwegian Cruise Line announces all new and expanded guest experiences to the Norwegian Bliss and Norwegian Breakaway. Guests will have more to do and more to enjoy with the world's first ever immersive cinema and dining offering at sea, Silver Screen Bistro. That sounds exciting. Norwegian Bliss updates begin January 17th prior to launching her Caribbean season. I did not know. Oh yeah, I guess Caribbean season. Technically that's...
Yeah.
Wait, the Bliss? The Bliss?
Yep, goes out of Florida.
That's wild. Okay, I did not know that. So her Caribbean season, while Breakaway's enhancements start on February 19th, 2025, before commencing a series of immersive European itineraries. It goes to the Med. The Breakaway goes to the Med. A lot of people want to go to the Mediterranean. I would not go to the Mediterranean on the Breakaway. Not the ship for me. Not the ship for me. Okay, so Norwegian goes on to say that it's going to have significant updates to the Bliss and the Breakaway, and they're going to undergo these updates to expand the guest experience. So the first one they talk about is this Silver Screen Bistro. So it's an outdoor concept. Basic, from what I understand, is that, well, is it? I don't know. Silver Screen?
It is outdoor.
Okay.
It's the movie Under the Stars venue.
Interesting.
They're adding a food option.
Speaking of outside, they're also adding a new Horizon Park, and they're expanding a couple things. On Breakaway, they're taking away Moderno.
Breakaway, they're taking away Moderno and expanding Cagney.
Which makes a ton of sense.
Yes.
On the Breakaway, because Cagney's was always full, and Moderno was always
impossible to
10% full. So if you can take that whole space, basically Cagney's and Moderno are the entire back part of the ship, right above the main dining area. So if you can turn that all into Cagney's, you're going to have more people be able to experience that. So it looks like these are dry docks. Yeah.
Yes.
So they're both dry docks. Following Norwegian Bliss's dry dock from January 17th to February 2nd. Think of how fast that is. That's incredibly fast.
2 weeks.
That's wild. Guests can enjoy a brand new Horizon Park. And so that's like an outdoor lawn space.
Lawn game, yeah. Giant Jenga, cornhole, things to do outside. They're adding additional lounge chairs with that as well.
So that's exciting. So it looks like they're also, and is this just the Bliss? Let's make sure.
Just the Bliss. They're also expanding Cagney's. They're taking over Los Lobos, so that one's going away. Okay.
Okay, so those are good things that are happening. So as a result of overwhelming guest popularity, enhancements to public areas will include expanded Cagney's. This is on the Bliss. Yep. Replacing Los Lobos, which makes sense. That place was never fully booked. And expanded Teppanyaki, replacing Coco's. That's the ice cream shop.
Yes.
And that makes sense because Teppanyaki is downstairs, literally right across from Coco's.
And they're also adding Palomar.
And I think they're changing Ocean Blue to Palomar.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a similar concept. That's a crazy fast dry dock.
Palomar was so much better than Ocean Blue.
It really was. So this is what I was worried. The first itinerary is February 2nd. So literally out of dry dock into the itinerary. I would be wary if you book that one.
Yeah, maybe.
I would.
Maybe book the second.
That sounds like a reschedule to me. Okay, so those are the things on the Bliss. Those are some cool things that are coming. Expansions to specialty dining. And then some Horizon, obviously. There's not a ton about this, what's it called?
Silver screen.
Silver screen. There's not a ton about that. So maybe we can take a look at that. So those are the good things. Now here's where I think it's the rough part. What are some of the rough things?
They're repurposing a portion of the observation lounge on deck 15 so they can add 24 balcony staterooms and 2 club balcony staterooms.
So they're taking away, and this is on the Bliss.
On the Bliss.
So go watch any review of the Bliss. Watch any one review of the Bliss. The number one thing people will say they love the most is
the observation
lounge, because the Bliss was built for Alaska.
Yes.
It was purpose built for Alaska. So they have this big, beautiful,
Panoramic
very modern observation lounge. They serve food. There's a bar. There's big windows. There's so much space. There's enough space that it never felt crowded. And it was a really, really great space. It was like this every morning observation lounge. You see where you are, check out this. If the weather's bad, you can see like what's going on around you.
Yep.
And I think you saw a preview of that on the Viva, right? The
Yes.
smaller observation lounge, less services, less space.
Yes.
And it was closed off half the time. And crowded.
And used for private events.
So basically they're taking, and this is not the first time they've done this, so they're taking this space that people really like and they're just cramming in more staterooms. Clearly an industry trend, but Norwegian specifically, taking away something. Imagine spending money on something that your guests don't want. Like it's crazy. And that's because, I mean, I would venture to say there's not been a cruise since we've been on the Bliss where it has had an empty stateroom.
Probably not.
So if you're Norwegian, 20 plus staterooms, that's going to pay for itself in 2 years.
Yeah, it's booked out every time.
So that's a no-brainer if you're, an accountant at Norwegian. That just makes sense. What I think, if I was to go back on the Bliss, one of the reasons I would want to go back on the Bliss is observation lounge.
Yep.
So if you're looking to go on the Bliss and you experience now this new experience and you're not as wowed, maybe that's a good thing for Norwegian to get butts in seats for the first cruise, but you might not want to go on the second cruise. It might not be as appealing to you. So that's the Bliss.
Other updates on the Bliss, they're expanding the Horizon Lounge and improving the Premier Owner Suites, which now include 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and a separate dining room.
Okay. I like that. Let's talk about the Breakaway. So the Breakaway needs some help. You can look at some of the video from our video here. You can see that the Breakaway was in rough shape consistently across the ship. It looked much older than 10 years old. It looked much, much older than 10 years old.
Yes.
And it didn't even look like from what I know of a Norwegian ship. The pool chairs were bad. The restaurants the chairs were bad. There was like there was corrosion all over the ship. There was literally paint chips everywhere. Everywhere. The windows were dirty, which that's not a maintenance thing. That's a basic cleaning thing.
Yes.
Every day on the Bliss, every day on the Primo, when you get up.
There was one spot that was never cleaned.
Never cleaned. Glass. So every day on the Bliss, every day, and I don't know, do you have that picture? Yeah, Ashley has a picture of the spa. Yeah, check out this picture of the spa. It's gross. Anyways.
It's mold or something?
I don't know.
It's like between the window pane. I don't know.
And it doesn't look healthy.
Not at all.
So, every morning on the Viva, every morning on the Bliss, when I would go out, check out the morning, go for a walk, there'd be someone cleaning the glass.
Even while we're eating dinner or breakfast,
Yeah.
that one time, the window washers were going up and down.
Yeah, but like a person, like a human was cleaning the glass. I did not see that one time on the Breakaway. So that to me is not a ship thing, that's a staff thing. Anyways.
So the Breakaway is what is getting the Silver Screen Bistro. It's an immersive movie and dining venue for all guests, and it's actually replacing the Spiegel tent. The Spiegel tent, which we never got to experience because it was always closed for a private event.
Okay, let's break. This is the Spiegel tent. Let's just play a clip of the Spiegel tent because this was the most intriguing space on the whole ship. So let's play this clip right here. Anyway, so Spiegel tent was it was a beautiful room, I thought.
Yeah.
It was neat, but it was completely underutilized.
Yes. Now
that's where it's frustrating when you go on a cruise. You spend so much money and it's like basic management decisions like that. Where it's like, It's hard to get into
It's a huge
spaces.
space, too.
It's hard to feel like you have room. And there's a giant room in the back of the ship that's never used. And you feel like you're breaking the rules by going and checking it out, you know? So that was frustrating. And also they're kind of getting rid of a significant amount of history on that ship, getting rid of Spiegel. Because remember they had the Rockettes. I think the Rockettes were the
Rockettes were the godmothers of the ship.
Hence the Spiegel tent
Yes.
and the performance space and the whole surrounding area. And they're just like,
So
you're gone.
Replacing it. It says it's an immersive movie and dining venue, but it doesn't say if it's going to be included or not yet.
So that could be cool because it's a literal dome room.
Yeah.
So they could have like a dome ceiling.
It's going to have oversized recliners and retractable tables, so much like a luxury movie theater.
So you're going to be paying for it.
And
Yeah.
shareable handheld menu items,
Yeah.
including select global fusion dishes
Okay.
from the restaurant.
Okay, they do have some.
Public.
They have some sample photos here on their site. So that okay. We'll post those sample photos. I can see exactly what they're going to do. They're going to take that tent spherical shape and they're going to make it a big screen. And that's cool. I mean, it's better than nothing. But I guarantee you that's going to be like some kind of specialty dining. What else? What else is on?
Horizon Park also going on the Breakaway. It's going to have an expansive stage for live music and entertainment. This they're taken from like the Prima class. Breakaway will also debut the Stadium, which is the complimentary outdoor activity concept offering family-friendly games.
Okay.
So that is what they have.
Like an atrium outside.
Yeah, it's like a atrium, but also has like table tennis and things like that you can enjoy.
Okay, that sounds fun. Well, I mean, so that's kind of a wrap on big changes. It's amazing how fast they do that. They cannot afford to have these ships down for a week, 2 weeks. So a 2-week dry dock's a significant amount of time for a ship to be out of service, right? But also impressive of how much change is going to be. What's cool is if you go on, or you're planning to go on the Breakaway or the Bliss, you can see exactly what the difference is. So we'll definitely kind of make a video before and after of that. And I have to say, like, if they make these kinds of changes to Breakaway, I would be excited to check it out. I would want to check it out. So I'll definitely be looking for some reviews, and maybe I would not go on the Breakaway in the Med. There's a reason for that. The main reason is the size of the ship.
Yes.
And it's a little bit too big. You will benefit more from a ship that's a little bit smaller in the Mediterranean because it's, you know, I would imagine the Breakaway has to do a lot of tenders.
Yes.
In the Med. So, and you just suck up time is what you do on a tender experience. You're just spending a lot of time.
For hours.
So, yeah, I mean, I would love to hear what y'all think about these new changes that are coming. But the biggest change that I noticed is very consistent across Norwegian, and that is Norwegian's creating a problem and then selling you a solution. And specifically, it's one main thing, which is this ever-growing divide between the regular passengers and the Haven.
Yes.
It's the experience of being a Haven guest and being a regular passenger on Norwegian. The gap between those experiences is really broadening. And I think it's actually creating some adversity. In fact, we experienced adversity in the Haven experience when we were on the Breakaway. And I completely understand if you pay for an experience that's exclusive, it should be exclusive. But, you know, there's a couple of areas of the Breakaway that are not as clearly marked. Haven, non-Haven.
Back to like how the ship is ran.
How the ship is ran, exactly. So there was a couple times when there was literally areas of the ship that were not marked as Haven, and we just went into that area. Doors were left open, so we actually went into, like, I think it was the lounge area, the pool,
embarking, going by the Statue
leaving
of
New York.
Liberty.
So everyone kind of gathered in this area, and it ended up being the Haven area. It was like the Haven outdoor area, and it was like, the trash is in, you know, it was like someone let the trash in, you know, and I was just like, that experience was not great. I completely understand that they pay for that space. It's their space. But I think like Norwegian what they're doing is they're taking more and more space for the Haven area. And so it's a problem where you're essentially so what happens? More space goes to the Haven. What happens to everyone else?
They get less space.
They get less space. So it's more crowded. It's less comfortable. There's less to do. There's less space. There's less things to do. And so it's like, well, maybe you should try the Haven. Have you considered upgrading your suite? And, you know, the difference between an interior stateroom and a Haven room.
Basic room, yeah.
Astronomical.
It's
can be 10 times.
More than more than 3 times.
Yeah, it can be 10 times depending on the cruise that you go on. And, you know, maybe we're not in that category of cruises. Maybe there's more cruises than I'm aware of. The Haven's always been sold out on every ship that we've been on.
Sure, but I think at that point, like, you can go on Seabourn or something.
Sure, yeah. That's where I think, and maybe that is something Norwegian's thinking about. I don't know. I can't, that's the other thing where if I was maybe we should talk to some Haven people. If you're a Haven guest, maybe you're getting tired of the whole, you know, your experience. Yeah, ship it. Maybe like, if you're spending the whole time in the Haven, which some people literally did. Mm-hmm. Some people on our cruise went in the Haven, and I saw them like twice, and they were very clear that they like
they ate there, they stayed there.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we're not going to the ship. And so, you know, at that point, just make a Haven class ship. You know, yeah. that seems like a way to go. What I'm trying to get at here is like, I'm all about whatever you want to do. We actually were balcony. You know, we preferred balcony staterooms before, mm-hmm. and we found that we are outside so much that a balcony is not a good use of money. It's nice to have a balcony, but like you're paying for something you're never using. So it didn't make a ton of sense to pay for a balcony that we weren't going to use because we were in the observation lounge. Oh, see, this makes sense now. Okay.
But in cruises like Alaska, where the sun doesn't go down until midnight, it's nice to have an interior room so you can sleep.
Sure. And how much you know, we just don't spend a ton of time in the room. And maybe like our kid will spend some time in the room. Watching the iPad. Yeah, just sitting in bed, decompressing. Yeah, decompressing. I wouldn't want him watching the balcony on the iPad or iPad on the balcony. No, I would not feel comfortable with that. So yeah, I think this is where the future is unclear with Norwegian, and this is kind of where I would close it out. I'm very excited for these changes. I think it's going to be neat to see these changes. But especially
the food changes, the dining changes, I'm happy with.
And Norwegian's food is by far our favorite part. Yes. Mine. It's just so good. There's so many great restaurants. The specialty dining restaurants in particular. But I think like every one of these changes and every one of the changes we've observed with Norwegian has led me down one path. And that path has always been, maybe we should check something else out. Every single time. Where it's like, oh, okay, well that's interesting. Let's check out a princess ship. That's interesting. Maybe we could go on a Royal... I mean, we have literally looked at Royal Caribbean, Holland America, because it's like, if your experience that you like is changing, and I would argue not for the better, sure, you're getting more options, but you're losing things. You're making trade-offs. I would love to go back on the Bliss exactly the way I experienced the Bliss. I don't know that I needed to change. Yeah. So I just like, I went back on Sapphire Princess. It was just like when I went on, and because of that, I enjoyed it more. So when you're looking at, okay, I'm going to go back on the Breakaway or back on the Bliss or back on the Viva, and they've changed some things, it's more expensive, it's more exclusive for some people, then it's like, well, why not just check out a different ship? Why not go check out the Sun Princess? Why not check out one of these massive Royal Caribbean ships? So I think like Norwegian is clearly cashing checks right now. There's no doubt about it. Like they're cashing those cruise checks right now. They're in heavy money making mode. They had to take out a massive loan just to survive during the pandemic, and they are making that money back right now. What remains to be seen is what is the cost of customer loyalty, because this won't last forever. These full ships, these, you know, itineraries that are booked fully, that's just basic economics. It's not going to last forever.
Speaking of customer loyalty, they don't do a great job of making sure that you can take advantage of that. Like when we totally missed the 3 latitude events and no one ever told us what they were or what happened during them. Nobody can answer that question.
Oh, didn't you see the memo in your room? No, actually. Like, that's why I'm at the desk right now. Yeah. And the lack of like, oh my gosh, you missed the event, have a seat, you know, like let's tell you what you missed. Here's your pin. We never even got our pin.
Didn't even know there was a pin.
What's the point? What's the point of it? You know, what's the point of having it if it doesn't matter? Compare that to Princess when the captain literally is like, oh hey, it's nice to see you.
Yeah. With me,
Yeah, so I don't know. It remains to be seen with NCL. I still love NCL. I still
love NCL. I do like the way that they have their packages, how it's packaged together.
Yeah, it's a value.
Ships are more kid-friendly.
Yep.
If you have more family.
Kid-friendly without being tacky.
Yeah, and different ages of kids. Like the kids club versus teens versus tweens. Like they do a very good job of catering to all range of kids.
Yeah. It's definitely a mid-tier cruise.
Yes.
It's not bargain basement.
It's not Carnival.
It's not, you know, fights on the ship. It's not, you know, toilets overflowing. Like it's
never had that problem.
Never had that problem. But it's also not like it's clearly not like Princess. Princess is in a different category compared to Norwegian, which is weird because the food is not as good.
The food
Princess
is not as good.
But the service is unquestionably consistently better. I don't remember a service issue. Did we have a service issue on Safari? I really don't think we did.
We did not.
There was not a single issue, and they were so great with Ben. They were very good with.
They were
very great with the kids on Princess.
Princess did. I mean, their ship itself was not as kid friendly, but they had more organized family activities like the egg drop challenge.
And they really got involved with the kids.
They got involved. The whole crew got
transparently
involved.
Too, because that's important. Because I think like when you have kids on a cruise ship, confined spaces. So you don't always know about the workers. They were very transparent about the kids. Very safe. Very safe.
Wasn't like the best. They were very flexible if we were in a casualty dining venue and Ben wanted to bring something in front of the buffet. So they're very flexible with that. But
but this is where NCL. I don't think they realize we should be on this video right now telling you don't go on any other cruise line. Go on NCL. This is why. This is why. This is why. Because we've been on more NCL cruises than anything else.
Yeah.
We started with Celebrity, hated it.
Never going
Went to NCL. NCL, we're like, oh, this is cruising. This is nice. And now we find ourselves kind of saying like, oh, okay, maybe it's time to try something else. And that's a big miss. Mm-hmm. This is not cheap travel. It's premium travel.
Yes.
Cruising has always been premium travel. And that's where NCL's got to really figure out what they want to be. If they want to be something else, so be it. But they might lose some customers. So we'd love to hear what your thoughts are on some of these new changes. What's your favorite Norwegian ship? Do you plan to go on the Bliss? Are you going on the Bliss before the dry dock? Are you going after the dry dock? I'm glad we're not going on the Bliss or the Breakaway now, right before the dry dock. Although we were pretty close. Would have been nice to know. Would have been nice to know. Okay.
Yeah, they kind of slipped that.
Yeah, they slipped that one in there. Yeah. But if I was going this week on the Bliss or this week on the Breakaway, I'd be like, oh, great. You know? So I hope you get to go on one of those ships. I think you'll have a great time. The Bliss, we've been on the Bliss, we've been on the Breakaway, we've been on the Viva. I have no problem telling you you should go on any one of those ships.
The Viva is still my favorite.
The Viva is a wonderful ship. Viva and the Prima, very wonderful ship. So, I would have no problem telling you to go back on those ships. So, happy cruising. Let us know what your comments are down below, and stay tuned for more videos. We do have an upcoming cruise, a little bit secret right now. But yeah,
you can follow that journey soon.
Yeah, we'll see it. We'll be posting a full cruise review of a very mysterious ship that we're just not sure how it's going to work out. It's a very different type of ship. Mm-hmm. So, all right, we'll check it out. This is my last part. I know we're producing this content for free to be able to try to help you enjoy your travel experiences. It really does help if you watch the video all the way through and if you click that like button, and please do subscribe. We don't put out a ton of videos. We don't do clickbait. Mm-hmm. We don't do the weird, photo that's, yet. But we don't do clickbait. I think there's a lot of clickbait cruise content out there. So we're never going to do that. So if you ever feel clickbaited by our content, just let us know. Thanks for tuning in, watching the video, and we'll talk to you soon.